Welcome to Trash Compactor. I'm Josh, and I'm joined today by Russ,
Hi.
Fry.
Hello.
Sorry, I don't like how I introduced you. I want it with more enthusiasm. Fry
Hello.
and Mickey.
Hey.
And today is another thought experiment in the vein of our prequels 1986 episode. In honor of the debut of the Andor show, we're going back to Rogue One, and we're going to imagine what if Rogue One was made just before the original Star Wars, just like its story happens right before the original Star Wars. So like 1976 or 77, kind of as a lead-in setup for Star Wars: A New Hope, maybe even made cheaply as a TV movie that has overseas theatrical distribution. I don't know. We'll get into all that. But and friend of the show and frequent guest Johnny wanted to be here with us, but he's currently starring in a stage production of The Crucible. But he was so excited by this week's topic that he sent me a full list of his casting picks like 3 minutes after I told him about the idea. So I'm gonna read those out. So I'm gonna read those out for him, so he'll be in spirit. So let's get started. Well, so first of all, Grand Moff Tarkin, I think we're all in agreement. He's still played by Peter Cushing because he's still alive. Unless any of you have a wild...
He's still alive. He's still the best pick.
Except in this version, they layer him with a CGI version of himself, even though they can't do CGI yet. Like it's just like CGI
Yeah, it's like
Tarkin on top of Tarkin.
They rotoscope over him so that, yeah. Okay, so getting that out of the way. Cassian Andor debuts in this movie, but he's really more of a co-lead. The star of Rogue One is really Jyn Erso, so let's start with her. Who plays Jyn in the mid-70s? Mickey.
Okay, I just want to say maybe this isn't a good thing to admit, the one female role, but I definitely had the hardest time, I think, with Jyn.
Really? She for me was
yeah.
actually by far the easiest. So
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm better than you. I don't know what that means. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I had a thing where I felt like every good pick for that time period was actually, because to me, like, Jyn is like young, and that's the point of the movie, like definitely 20s, maybe early 30s. And
Okay.
like I was kind of like, and I'm like thinking, well, the actress at the time, I'm Googling, like, they're actually in their 40s, and or you got your Sissy Spacek and
Oh yeah, Sissy Spacek's a
at
good
that
pick.
time who's like too young. Oh, so that would be an interesting twist if it actually was a child soldier at that point.
That's
But
true. So who did you end up with?
I kind of have like two picks. I was thinking either Natasha Kinski, kind of rolling on a wave that I think some other people might think a similar, someone related to her might be a good pick for another role. I think that would be interested. Or kind of like the wild card pick would be seeing what Shelley Duvall could do with the role.
Oh, nice.
Shelley Duvall. How old is Shelley Duvall at this point?
I looked it up, and I feel like she was in her 30s.
Yeah,
I didn't like.
No, yeah, she would have been.
Notes,
She would have been like, say, for argument's sake, let's say this is shot in like 76, right? So she was born in 49, so she would have been 27.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Is that the math?
Yeah. So that so that
right?
tracks.
That's math. That's
Yeah.
how you do math.
Yeah, that's math.
Yeah,
That's math. Okay, I like your pick of Shelley Duvall.
And she might actually come up as a wild card pick for another character for me later, but we'll get to that.
I actually kind of prefer Natasha Kinski because the thing about Jyn is that it's not just that she's young, it's also that she's like haunted a little bit, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I get that more from, well, I don't know. I guess Shelley Duvall. I don't know. We can talk this out. Fry, who's your Jyn?
Well, first of all, I was thinking, I don't think we're going to do this character, but I just thought briefly for Jin's mom, I was thinking Shelley Duvall. Like that came to mind if we were going to do that character.
Oh, we should do that character. I don't know why.
But she's only got like 2 minutes screen time.
No, Shelley Duvall would be a good Jin's mom. What is her name? Lyra. So who's your Jyn?
I actually had a few, and I think I'm going to go with Jenny Agutter. I think that's how you pronounce her name. From
Ooh, yes. Good one. Oh my
really?
God.
Is that
Russ?
Russ
is
Again,
really
the
Russ is
second
really-
time.
Jenny Agutter is a good pick, fresh off of Logan's Run.
Yeah, and I feel like because she's
That's
kind of
good.
kind of quiet and reserved, but also like kind of passionate and like a little bit edgy when she needs to be.
That's good.
Do you have any, Russ? Do you have any backups?
I do have backups because I was afraid this might happen.
Okay, I'll save anything. I'll let everybody else go first before I say other ones.
Dangerous.
Okay, Russ, who's your second choice for Jyn Erso?
All right, so Jenny Agutter being my first choice, coming off, Logan's Run 1976 to be in the right time frame. My backup is kind of a fun choice, and you could pick between the two because the Charlie's Angels can get the job done. So I'm going either Jacqueline Smith or Kate Jackson would be my because I'm thinking a lot of TV. Like TV action is very, very prominent at the time. Like, you want someone who can show the clandestine role, and also I'm thinking Star Wars. Early Star Wars, and I'm thinking, what were people like? What were people into? And really, the main line here is sideburns and mustaches. So the lady's got to
Indeed.
be foxy, and the guy's got to have mustaches and sideburns, and a little bit of shaggy hair. So I'm definitely thinking the Charlie's Angel. So I can go either way on that. They were my backups, but if you want to go fun,
Oh no, I like that. I like that.
Linda Carter would be a good choice then too. I didn't think about TV.
Linda Carter would be a good choice. Yeah, because like I alluded to in the opening, like in my sort of this sort of counterfactual, like I'm trying to figure out how this movie could have happened given the proximity to the making of the actual Star Wars. So I'm assuming George Lucas wouldn't have made this himself. It was kind of like a cheapo thing that either like a friend of his would take on, like maybe even as a TV movie that would be released theatrically, like a movie of the week that would either debut before the film as sort of like a lead up. So it's not like the like grand spectacle. It's more of like the like gritty, lower budget, lower scale men on a mission movie from the 70s, like a World War II sort of like a men on a mission movie.
I was wondering if that was something like that, or if like this is just straight up the before the first movie and the franchise, and like it's not even a franchise at this point. Like if this would take the place of New Hope, and like
No,
there's
yeah, I
nothing
mean
else
it very
planned,
well could. That's a part of the thought experiment. It's just
because that would change everything forever. Like because that would be
yeah,
the beginnings of
yeah.
Star Wars. Like it would be this like kind of downer beginning, and then it just like then New Hope comes after that, and it's just like what is that? This is a totally different movie.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. Like, I don't think, well, sort of, it originated. It's like Rogue One, the end of Rogue One is like literally like 20 minutes before New Hope starts, right? So I was sort of having it in my mind as like this hypothetical 70s production of Rogue One would act as a companion to the original Star Wars in a similar fashion.
I think it still works because this movie always feels to me like it's a somehow within the context of Star Wars, this feels like a historical movie. Like it feels like the equivalent of
Yeah.
like a World War II kind of like it's like the story of like this specific battle like in World War II or something like that that's never had like a movie made of it, but now like
Yeah,
everybody's kind of
right.
familiar
Yeah.
with it. But somehow like within
Yeah.
this
So
fictional universe, it's like one of those.
yeah, it's like this, like, small, I mean, in the context of Star Wars, it's like, one line in the opening crawl sort of exploded into an entire 2-hour feature. It's sort of like, well, let's like really zero in on this one little thing and make a whole meal out of it. But I digress. My Jyn Erso for the 70s Rogue One is Jane Fonda. I'm thinking like Clute mullet haircut Jane Fonda.
yep, I see it.
But then I had a better idea. Pam Grier.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it.
I think that's the best choice.
Yeah.
Right. What were some of your backups? I'm curious.
A Charlotte Rampling, especially when you described her as haunted. That's like you most made me switch to like my first choice for that one. The only thing is that like even though she was I think about the same age that Felicity Jones, like when she made the movie, I feel like she maybe at the time felt a little bit older, but like
yeah, like she
just kind
reads
of
a little older. Yeah.
yeah
No, but that's an interesting choice though.
yeah.
Like no, I like that.
And then for kind of
Um
similar reasons as Jenny Agutter, like Amy Irving
oh sure.
from Carrie, and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver.
Ooh,
Yeah, Sigourney
ooh,
Weaver I feel she was also on my list. Um
that's good.
it's a tough one. Like I actually feel like I actually don't know who to go with on this one. For what it's worth, Johnny's pick was Susan Sarandon.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, yeah, I like
I
that.
was thinking that one too. I didn't put it on my list, but yeah, I like that one.
Coming off the
Someone
Great
else
Waldo
on
Pepper, yeah.
someone
Yeah.
else on my list was actually Helen Mirren.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
ooh, I like this movie.
So let's move on to Cassian Andor, as Stellar Skarsgård pronounces it. Russ, who's your Cassian Andor?
thank you for letting me go before Fry because I don't know what he does, but
That's exactly
he, like
that's exactly why I chose you first.
he's smiling. He's got eyeballs on my list. I don't know. So my top. I have a few top choice. I have a few backups. The choice I think would be great, but probably not the most marketable. I mean, maybe I don't know. John Cazale.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
That's
that's
good.
my number one choice because he would just
I
he
like
would
it.
just draw you like he would draw you in. It would be so you see the conflict in him. So my kind of throwaway was Roy Scheider because he's in that ballpark with those with that team. The Lucas Spielberg connection. I thought that would be kind of cool. And then
Yeah.
kind of what I think the more practical solution. Speaking of Sigourney Weaver, would be Tom Skerritt.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
that's good.
I
good
think,
point.
and now imagine they all have mustaches, like pretty
Yeah.
wild mustaches, like all of them. So that's like a must. Roy Scheider would have it like glued on a little bit, I think, but they'd all have the requirement mustaches and some pretty intense sideburns from all these guys. But I think John Cazale would really like. I don't think he would have taken it, but Tom Skerritt might have.
Sorry, you just said a phrase. Well, first of all, I love that. There was a phrase that you just said that is really lodged in my brain. Requirement mustache. I think I'm going to name a band Requirement Mustache or something. um, Mickey, who's your Cassian Andor? Sorry, I can't stop doing that Stellan Skarsgård impression.
I love it.
So, I mean, kind of going back to like what Fry, I definitely took the assignment as this is a B movie, a TV made for TV movie. It was how I wanted to approach it,
Same.
for sure, because
Yeah.
that's how I envision it. But I don't know. I don't have that Tarantino-esque knowledge of those names of those guys.
Yeah, like
So
those
I just
those
kind of keep
B and
on.
C listers who were acting in like
Yeah.
yeah, no, I know. I wish we could have
Yes.
gotten
So
Quentin on the show, but he
I know, right?
he had a conflict.
So my picks are like more mainstream, bigger actors, even at the time than I would hope. So I went and I feel like this is kind of obvious, but I went with Pacino as my main pick. I got a couple backup picks,
You
but
never
I
go
would have
wrong.
to say
Never,
just in terms of like,
never go wrong with Pacino.
the swarthiness too, and like the kind of like, like on edgeness, like that's to me, it's just Pacino. I like Cazale though. That's a good pick too, but I might have him for something else coming up.
Oh shit.
Ooh.
I also might have
Read my list
something
too?
else coming up.
Fry, who's your Cassian Andor?
I'm gonna go with Martin Sheen, but he's got to have. You ever see the movie The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane with Jodie Foster? He's got to have
Yeah.
the hair that he has in that. That's
Yeah.
the hair that he must have. It's like a floppy hair.
And he has a real darkness to that character.
He I think
Yeah.
is possibly the perfect one for this. So that was also actually John's choice for Cassian Andor as well.
Ooh.
So
Nice.
Ooh.
yeah.
You know it's right if two people both pick it. It's
Yeah.
correct.
And one of them is John Hanson.
So right. So I'm not following the rules. Like I just have a whole bunch of names and I can't choose. But my first thought was Edward James Olmos.
Ooh.
All right.
Ooh.
I'm trying to think what he was doing at that time and what he looked like, but I can see it.
he was. I think he did because I took a look at it. It was like TV, which actually would work out pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I was also thinking Fred Williamson. Like as soon as I thought of Pam Grier, I was thinking blaxploitation, and then I was like Fred Williamson.
Yeah.
And then my more mainstream one, Harvey Keitel.
Oh, nice.
For me, with Pacino, he was the other, in there too. My other backup with Keith Carradine too, is like that was trying to find someone a little bit more obscure. If this
he
was a
comes up.
TV
He
movie.
comes up in mine. A lot of
Yeah.
the Carradines are actually were all over my list.
Mine too.
And I thought because I feel like this name is definitely going to come up for another character with a lot of us, but I feel like Yaphet Kotto might, going
Yeah.
from I think we'll all know what it is, the obvious coming up, but like, but what if we think about him for the the Cassian role too? I think he would have been a good choice.
He could have done it for sure. Yeah. I mean, he was great in everything. So, but yes. Okay, let's move on to Krennic. Fry, who's your Krennic?
You know what? I'm gonna go with. I have like several. I'm gonna go with Scott Wilson from In Cold Blood. He played like Herschel on Walking Dead. He's in this movie called The Non-Configuration.
Yeah.
Just because he's got very sad, kind of gentle eyes, and I think that would be like a interesting kind of juxtaposition to have the guy who's like
Interesting.
like
interesting
sociopath,
choice.
just kind of look like Scott Wilson. Just kind of he'll
Interesting
stab you in the back
choice.
with like his sad eyes.
Russ, who's your Krennic?
So it was kind of a tie for me. I was thinking first, like coming off Space 1999, I was thinking Martin Landau would be my Krennic.
Ooh, that
Nice.
that is a good pick. That is
Yeah,
a
that
good
is a good
pick.
one.
I think he's my top runner. My backup was James Mason, but I want Martin Landau. Yeah, I see Martin Landau as like he has that imposing character and the intensity. I see he's got it like for me.
The reason why I like Martin Landau, the tricky thing about the Krennic character is that he's a bad guy, but he loses to Tarkin, and he's intimidated by Vader, so when those two aren't around, he's the bad guy. But then you start to see
Yeah.
he's got like a chip on his shoulder, or like an internal weakness, or like there's like something where he's not quite as like granite as either Tarkin or Vader. So that's why I like Landau, especially off of, Mission Impossible. Like he can do he's got the range, like he can do those like subtle changes. So I think that's a great choice. Mickey, who's your Krennic?
I got one pick, only one pick. Didn't bother thinking of backups. Don't even have to look my thing. This would be a dream thing. This would be like if I was producing, I would like go to war for it, and it would be John Cassavetes.
John Cassavetes is on my list as well.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah, because like, Cassavetes was always like the one for me, one for them. He'll do anything. I mean, not anything, but like he would do something like this for the paycheck so he could keep funding, I guess this time killing of a Chinese bookie. Like they had to stop production so that he could write. Like that's an interesting choice.
And he plays such great bad guys. The movies the accent, he's like more often than not a bad guy, and he's so good at it.
No, exactly. He is. Brass Target reminds me of like the kind of movie that Rogue One 77 would sort of be in the mold of, and he plays an army officer in that who's like,
and of course 30 Dozen too.
Oh yes, right, yeah,
He's a psycho,
right.
At the
Right.
time, it was Mikey and Nikki in 76 or
Ooh.
2 Minute Warning.
Yeah, so 2 Minute Warning I think was a one for them thing.
And he didn't direct Mikey and Nikki.
Correct. It was Elaine May. Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
was not a one for them. I think that one was a one for Elaine, but
Yeah.
2 Minute Warning was definitely a one for them. Like, who's the other co-lead in 2 Minute Warning? I think it's someone very right wing that he wouldn't have gotten along with, at least in my imagination of it.
Charlton Heston.
Yeah, he wouldn't have got.
Yeah.
He and Chuck, I don't think would have gotten on. But okay, I actually have several for this. Roddy McDowell,
Ooh.
Nice.
All right.
Telly Savalas.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
Ooh, I like Telly Savalas.
But here's, I think, possibly my favorite, Anthony Perkins.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who at this point in his career would do something like this.
Yep.
And has that, like, he can be frightening,
Or frightened.
or
slightly or scared charming is how I describe it. Scared charming.
Yeah. Which Ben Mendelsohn in the first scene between him and Galen Erso, I said Orso, the pasta or rice, it's never been made clear to me. But Galen Erso, that first scene between the two of them in that like preamble, he is that like frightening charming, or that like menacing charming. So I was trying to think of someone who could do that, but could also seem scared and pathetic.
Yeah. As soon as you said that name, I like the
Totally.
image. I just saw like the image of him like immediately in the
I
role.
see him in that white suit. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I was also thinking Gene Hackman, like just because of Superman.
Why the hell not? He's great.
Yeah.
Watch him do anything.
John's pick for Krennic was Oliver Reed, which I think
Oh,
is
wow.
which I think is great, but he seems a little
Old.
not necessarily old, but he seems like, I can't think of a
Substantial?
character he's ever played that's like that you would ever for a moment think was pathetic. I just don't see Oliver Reed ever taking any shit from anybody. But I mean, I don't know. He's an amazing actor, so I'm sure he could have pulled it off.
There's moments in The Devils where I feel like you see a little bit of that. So I think Oliver Reed works. Yeah.
Can I throw out another one?
Ooh.
Warren Oates, who's in a lot of Peck and Paw movies. He's like the I think like drill sergeant in Stripes. I just
Oh, that's
mainly
a
because
yeah.
he has like similar mouth energy to Ben Mendelsohn. He's very like he's got that like a lot, but
Yeah.
he played Dillinger in a John Milius movie, and like so I imagine like
Yo,
behind the scenes like him.
have you seen the Milius John
No, I've
Dillinger
only
movie?
seen the
It's
trailer.
good.
Is it good?
It's good.
I'm gonna check that out.
Warren Oates kind of has like a
The-
perma frown. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and that makes me think maybe Ned Betty too. In terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
being both able to be like
Mm,
and powerful in one moment and then sniveling in like the next,
I could see that.
that range. Yeah. And then Fry's pick also made me think of maybe like a young James Cromwell too.
Oh yeah.
Definitely as a pick of like it's a B movie and it wouldn't be someone who would be bigger at that time.
Right.
I have to confess, I really don't know what James Cromwell was up to in the 70s.
that'll do.
I'm
The,
trying.
the only thing I can really think of that I love is this movie called Murder by Death, which is like a
Oh!
spoof of like
Yeah.
kind of like Clue but better, in my opinion.
Yes. Oh no, yeah, he is in Murder by Death. You're right.
Another one is Richard Harris.
Ooh,
Richard
man.
Harris is good.
Because have you ever seen the movie Orca? Like he
Yes.
Yeah.
kind of comes across as like a little like pitiful like at that sometimes too. So I feel like you could play both ways that based on that movie.
Richard Burton.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
man, this Rogue One would have rocked.
Well, so that's just we can only choose one though.
Yeah, or
No.
they're played by a different actor in every scene.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we have Krennic pretty much covered. It seems like that character has inspired us.
Landau,
Most so far.
Landau. Sorry.
Land, yeah.
Let's move on to Galen Erso, played by Mads Mikkelsen in the actual film. Mickey, who's your Galen Erso?
I actually feel like there's a couple good picks here, and it kind of can be like take the character in slightly different directions. Like I'm thinking like especially with, like, when you cast something like with Mads, it's like you're thinking of someone who is just on the approach, scary and cold seeming, but has like a real you have like deep inside a warmth, and
yeah.
can hold secrets. So like to me that like, but then actually I didn't really take that into account. Like my pick is more just we're doing this because this is like the genre of the time, and he has to be in this movie because he's in all those movies. So this is actually completely opposite of that. So I don't know why I said that, but I said Ernest Borgnine just to get Ernest Borgnine in there.
Nice.
He'd be just
Yeah.
sweet. He'd just be a sweet dad. He wouldn't have that kind of like,
Yeah.
rough approach, but that could be interesting too. Slightly different.
But he could have a
movie.
rage.
No.
He could have a rage about him if he needs.
Yeah, well,
That's true.
Well, so it's also interesting too because like I totally see that working. It's a slightly different flavor of the character, but it's totally valid.
But I'm just saying, if you're doing one of these movies, you need Ernest Borgnine in it somewhere. I think.
Yeah.
I have some backups too, but we can do that at the end.
Okay, Russ, who's your Galen Erso?
So this is where my Patrick McGowan came in.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick
What am I back?
McGowan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's-
like it.
Patrick McGowan should be in every movie, probably, I think.
No, he shouldn't because then he wouldn't be as special and exciting when he shows up. It's like the Master in season. Never mind. I'm not going to do any Doctor Who references in this episode.
But yeah, Patrick. My backup early on was Leonard Nimoy actually.
That's good.
Oh,
That's good.
I was thinking
Fuck.
like, okay, coming off Star Trek, like kind of in that middle period.
No, and he was in the Philip Kaufman Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like
Yeah.
he's a good choice. Though you might get him and Landau mixed up. But that's
it's possible.
but that's actually that would actually kind of work though because like the two of them are supposed to be
Playing
like
his kind of
like
father.
foils.
Yeah.
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 No, I like that. I like that surprise that left field Leonard Nimoy.
And he says I think he could have such a kind of a calming wisdom, a sweetness, and we've kind of seen that, in the Spock character, this kind of subtlety. But when he brings in more humanity, he's just a charming, intelligent kind of character player like that. Perfect.
Well, the interesting thing about Galen Erso is that the inspiration for his character, he's really Robert Oppenheimer. So it's like someone that can simultaneously be sort of loving and you feel sympathy for, but at the same time has like a monstrous intellect and is, responsible for the worst excess of like scientific rationality. I don't know. Fry, who's your Galen Erso?
I'm gonna go with Jason Miller from Father Karras from The Exorcist, just because
Ooh.
That's
it kind of
good.
has that like
Ooh.
extremely competent but like semi-defeated kind of vibe.
Yes, he really has that. Yeah,
That's a good pick. That is
man,
a good pick.
the Friedkin playbook, unexpected.
Mine was John Cassavetes,
Mm.
just because I think we all, on some level, want John Cassavetes to be our dad. But then I thought
Yeah.
Robert Duvall.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Mm.
You have the THX 1138 connection,
Yep,
Yeah.
he's right in there.
and like he's someone who you could see in a tough spot. Like you could see him being very loving toward his daughter, but also someone who can do the hard things or whatever. So I don't know, but those were my picks. But I like Leonard Nimoy. And Russ, who was your first?
I don't know.
He
I
could have
could-
also done
Yeah.
like Vincent Price, like left to his own devices, could also. I'm just out of sheer curiosity would have liked to see him play Krennic as well. Like I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, Patrick McGowan.
Oh yeah, McGowan.
I did have a
God damn
third,
it.
and it was just in case, and it was Vincent Price. I don't know why. I felt like he might grab the role and just Vincent Price it.
I would,
He has that range.
Lee Van Cleef, just
So-
because
Ooh,
Franz Mikkelsen kind of thing. Like you just kind of see somebody who
Ooh.
usually plays like villains kind of play a villain role.
Or what about Lee Marvin?
Oh yeah.
Shh, save that. Don't talk about him yet.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Damn it.
I will enter it into the record that Johnny's pick for Galen Erso was Paul Newman.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
I don't think you would have done this though.
No, but it's great. It's a great choice.
Yeah,
I didn't go with it, but there was a character I was gonna give like Jeff Bridges. So like even that, knowing the same thing, it would be like he wouldn't at this point he wouldn't do it. But I was like, I just want to put it there. I
Mm.
didn't go with that, but
well, so at the end I have a section of like, random pilots and imperial officers, like for like people that we just want to see show up in the movie. Like one of my favorite performances, my favorite actors and favorite characters in the movie is actually Blue Leader, who's in it for like a minute. Like the guy, he just looks like he was there in 77, and like he really died like 3 days before the Battle of Yavin. He really seems like he was one of those guys. And then also like there are a bunch of British character actors who pop in and out. Like the guy who Cassian shoots in the beginning.
yeah.
And then like one of the like squabbling rebellion leaders in that scene, like when they're deciding if they should evacuate or if they should whatever. It's like so I feel like there are like a lot of opportunities for just faces we would want to see. So Jeff Bridges I could definitely see as like a rebel pilot who's just like happy to be there.
Too handsome, probably.
His character seems to be like handsome.
Give him a mustache, though. We'll see.
He's in this like it's not a drag racing movie. What is it? When like you race shitty cars and like crash them into each other. What is that called?
Something Derby.
Yeah, Derby.
Yeah, he's in a movie called I think it's called The Last American Hero.
Oh
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's just there because he likes to fly and shoot, right? like he's that kind of guy.
Demolition Derby. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, Demolition Derby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why couldn't I think of it? I was
Yeah.
like, something Derby.
Do we want to do Saw Gerrera next or Chirrut and Baze, the duo?
Yeah, let's do those two guys.
Okay, Chirrut and Baze Malbus. I was kind of thinking maybe do them together because they are kind of a double act, and like who you cast as one affects who you pick as the other. I mean, at least
Sure.
for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Makes sense.
Fry, who are your Chirrut and Bazes?
I was trying to find somebody who's a martial artist, but I couldn't really find anybody good or like that would make sense. So I'm going to go with like Joe Morton, he was acting by then. He's probably about like 30 years old.
Oh, shit.
Just because like I mean like the fighting part of it, like I think they would just have to find a way to kind of sell it, but like I could just see him as a blind monk like character who is like endlessly devoted to like the Force and just like never losing that like faith. And for Baze, I picked Jeffrey Lewis, Julia Lewis's father, because he's in like some Clint Eastwood movies, like Every Which Way But Loose, and he's like kind of a good bro.
Mm.
So I was kind of
Mhm.
like I went
Interesting.
Joe Morton first, and like I was trying to find somebody who would play off them well.
These are deep cuts.
So
I
I went
like
with
it.
Mickey, who's your Chirrut and Baze?
So I have to say, I'm really disappointed at Johnny Hansen wasn't here because I have a real crazy out of nowhere pick that he was a little bit for him. Um, but basically, like if we're thinking about these men on a mission movies for Chiru, talking about is like they always seem to like, or especially in the 70s, they're grabbing like some major sports athlete, and like Jim Brown in The Dirty Dozen, right? Jim Brown, right? Yeah, in The Dirty Dozen.
Or like O.J. Simpson.
So I was like, yeah. So it's I'm like, so someone had to be a sports star for me. And then I would say at the same time, I had the hardest time with these two characters. I mean, there's a tricky thing when we're talking about these two. It's like you don't want to whitewash a character per se, but at the same time, it's fun because you could also pick a person of color or a woman or whatever to play one of the white roles that was played. So
Sure.
I didn't try to like hold myself up by that, but I do feel bad. I also feel bad that I just don't know. I don't know the Shaw Brothers movies that well or any at the time to try to think of some martial artist. But at the time, there was this guy, and all of us here, went to Binghamton, and there's a local guy at Binghamton had a dojo named Heidi Ochai, who was like just an expert martial artist, including sword stuff. And he was actually in the 70s. He was on, according to my dad. So I actually don't say if this is completely accurate because this is just my dad telling stories. He was a big negative. Said he was on Wide World of Sports all the time, including one of the things he would do on Wide World of Sports was he would put a watermelon on his wife's stomach and then cut it in half with a sword, without cutting her at all. So I have this vision. I'm going to give away the game already for if we're going to do directors at the end, but like I have this idea where Sam Peckinpah is hired at first to do it. He gets maybe like a quarter away before he gets fired, but I imagine he's like he's in pre-production trying to find someone. He's drunken in his hotel room with a resolver, and he watches Wide World of Sports and uses Heidi Ochai, does his sword trick, and he's just like, "That's him. That's fucking him." And he shoots the TV and calls up like the producer and tells him who's a hire. So that's my pick for Churu. And then for Baze, I'm thinking I think Bruno Gans. I think it'd be trying to make it a little international too. Find someone.
Fuck, he's in this movie too? Fuck, this is a good movie. This is a fucking awesome movie.
Wow.
John Rhys Davies too would be a good pick for a good buddy, in a movie.
That's true. So it turns out that Heidi Ochai, he does have an IMDb, and he apparently appears uncredited in an episode of Kung Fu, which is the right time
There you
period.
go.
Yeah.
So, and if there is indeed a David Carradine, which may be somebody's choice for one of these roles, I could very easily see that happening. Russ, who are your picks for Chirrut and Baze?
All right, so I see this as you can pick and choose who you want to play what role, but I'll put the names out there. It's Richard Roundtree and Charles Bronson, both mustachioed, back to back.
Yes. Okay.
Like-
All right.
Like we're
almost went with
putting a team
Bronson.
together.
Done.
Yeah.
Sold.
I don't have to explain why or what they do or who plays what character. They could even trade which one's blind. It doesn't even matter. It's just going to be so good.
That's awesome.
So Johnny's pick for Baze was Charles Bronson,
Yeah, we're right.
and his Chirrut was Tatsuya Nakadai, who is an actor he was in Ran, and he was in a lot of Japanese films of which I'm not familiar, but John is a fan of Japanese cinema, so that tracks. I'm going to assume that that's a great choice. I don't quite have the firsthand knowledge, but David Carradine for Chirrut.
Yep.
And Franco Nero, the original Django, for the other one.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my never gonna happen option, but like I kind of want to see it. If Cassavetes is involved in this movie in any capacity, he's gonna try and get his buddies work. So I'm thinking Peter Falk and Ben Gazzara, and Peter Falk's the blind one, obviously.
That is so good.
It's halfway there.
Oh, both have mustaches. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone in this movie, wall to wall mustaches. Even Jyn has a mustache.
All requirement mustaches.
All requirement mustaches. I think that's what I should call this episode: requirement mustaches. Okay, let's move on to Saw Gerrera, who's sort of the Che Guevara of this
Right.
universe, if the name didn't already imply. But Fry, who's your...
I'm
Saw
not
Gerrera.
happy with anything I came up with, but just
Okay, good, because I'm
For,
very
like,
happy with mine.
Good. Finally.
it's, I feel like it's a little bit problematic, but just like Dennis Hopper.
Ooh.
Okay.
He's
Ooh,
good.
that's
He's
good.
actually
That's good. Yeah.
It's got kind of the right vibe.
That's good. Yeah, that is kind of the right vibe.
Don't second guess yourself ever. That's great.
Russ, who's your Saw Gerrera?
So you blew up my spot on Lee Marvin. So he's my first choice, but I have he wouldn't do it probably ever, but maybe Marlon Brando.
Nice.
That occurred to me too. Yeah, because he's the Colonel Kurtz. Like,
Yep,
yes,
yep.
yes. Like
It's
he's
right in
yeah.
the range when he might, coming right off Last Tango, like he might have.
And the thing about Brando is that you can never predict what he would and wouldn't say yes to. It's like he may very well have said yes just to make somebody angry that he didn't like. Right? Like he was that sort of capricious. Like, so I mean, yeah, I mean, let's call up Marlon, see if he's down for a day of shooting. Like, I mean, come on.
And Coppola would pop over to direct just those scenes, and
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so there's an interesting subtext here as well that we'll get to when we talk about directors. I think that's going to be a very interesting conversation. But Mickey, who's your Saw Gerrera? And please don't make it the one that I told you about when we were texting the other day.
Oh no, I forgot. No, I'm pretty sure. Well, it's my pick. To me, it's I guess obvious,
Okay.
and just in terms of like how he's portrayed and how it really is, and just who has that kind of gravitas and gruffness at the time. You know, it's a Yaphet Kotto.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. It was good.
That's,
Yeah.
To me, that's all I can envision. But honestly, like, I mean, he could play any role in this. So,
no,
you
yeah,
know,
he could play any
I
role in
think
this.
that-
So
Yeah. So this would also be a good Bronson role too, maybe then if Yaphet Kotto's playing Cassian or something. But to me, I just can't. It just seems he seems so great.
yeah,
Seemed perfect.
he was the first one that crossed my mind. I think he would be perfect because again, it's that imposing, serious, kind of crazy, and you're not quite sure what he's gonna do, and that I think Yaphet Kotto perfectly fits the bill. So yeah, so if he's not already in the movie, I think that's a slam dunk. My Saw is Klaus Kinski
yes, yes.
because that guy's a crazy motherfucker.
Right.
and but like the other thing too, like I have to be honest, like depending on the movie, depending on which Klaus Kinski you get, like I could also see him as Galen Erso.
Oh, yeah.
I could also see him as Krennic.
Yeah.
Like, did you know, by the way, he was Spielberg wanted him for the Nazi with the top hat in Raiders of the Lost Ark, Thoth or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
The guy in
That makes sense
Yeah.
because
That's the spy guy.
oh yeah, the
Mhm.
guy that has his face melted off and the medallion seared into his hand.
That would have been good.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
and Klaus Kinski, he turned it down. He refused to do it,
Huh.
which just is par for the course of his like very questionable career decisions. Like he really hated the idea. I think Klaus Kinski really hated the idea that he would that anyone would like a movie he was in or like him in the movie. Like I don't know. He has this weird like self-destructive streak. It's like the idea that Steven Spielberg wants you to do Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, Steven Spielberg with Star Wars, George Lucas, and you turn it down. I don't know, man. It just seems like a payday, if nothing else.
yeah, and that would have been like on the heels of Nosferatu, which I feel like might have been like what he was thinking of. And maybe from Klaus Kinski, maybe it was just like he was thinking it's too much like Nosferatu, like kind of a
I don't know, man. But like
That's
I'm
Galen, and you
kind
put
of like a
Natasha in there
hissy villain.
no, that's true. That's true. If you if you do Klaus Kinski as Galen Erso, then your pick, Mickey, his real life daughter Natasha Kinski as Jyn, then you don't have to worry about
chemistry.
the likeness. Yeah, I mean it's the real. But yeah,
Yeah.
for Saw Gerrera, John's was Louis Gossett Jr. Sure, he would do a fine
Yeah, I
job.
like it.
My one other backup I had was Scott Glenn.
Ooh.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
like
Well, Scott Glenn in Apocalypse Now, he plays the guy they sent in before Martin Sheen, right? Who goes native, right?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. What's his name in the movie? The character's name? Colby. Sorry, I was trying to do a Martin Sheen. It didn't.
Yeah, Colby. Lieutenant Richard Colby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lance.
It didn't seem to come
That's my
off.
Martin Sheen.
Lance. Okay. The pilot. What's his name?
Bodhi Rook.
Bodhi.
Yes. Sorry. Who's your pick for Bodhi, Mickey?
This one is a fun one, and literally, there's just so many people I could think of that would just work so well. Because I mean, it's just one of those fun roles that so many of those actors at the time could really sink their teeth into. I mean, I think it's one of the many ones John Cazale. We just went over this, but couldn't play.
Cazale.
But
sure,
my
yeah.
my first gut instinct, I'd like to see what would be Brad Dourif.
Mm.
That would be good. Yeah, because he's supposed to be young, right?
Yeah.
No, that's good. I like that. Russ, who's your Bodhi?
Richard Dreyfuss.
That's mine.
Yeah, we're right. It's too perfect. He would just. I just think more of like a touch of like the Jaws kind of like era Richard Dreyfuss with a touch of maybe like the Close Encounters kind of neuroses. And then a little Mr. Holland's opus, into his future catalog. But yeah, I think he's got that kind of fun energy, and he can really, yeah, he'd be
Yeah, it's
perfect
like,
there.
you can imagine him, like, because the character in the movie, Riz Ahmed, is like, he's sort of in over his head. He does this thing, and then he's kind of nervous because he doesn't know what they're going to do with him on either side. And I can just imagine, Richard Dreyfuss is like, nervously cracking jokes to his captors and stuff like that. But then he ultimately, at the end of the movie, he does have the steel and the courage, like, to blow himself up to save everybody. So, but that's good. Fry, who's your Bodhi? Your Bodhi pick?
Well, I got two, and they are John Cazale and Brad Dourif.
We're all right.
Driver there, same wavelength there. I love it. Now I'm interested to see if I had another one, because I did have one more, and it's Richard Pryor. So.
That was my other one. One.
Yeah.
So now I have none picks because
Sorry. Oh my God. Sorry, guys.
because both of you took them. But John's was Lawrence Fishburne.
Nice.
I was trying to get Lawrence Fishburne in there. I don't know, because
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Apocalypse Now, like
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
A
Larry
lot
Fishburne,
of connections.
would be
Yeah.
credited,
Yeah, I mean, he would essentially be playing the same character as Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
right?
Just a few years too early, because at this point he's probably what, like 12, but I mean we could make it work. Let's do K2SO, the droid, and you can separate them into body and voice if you so choose. Who went first last time? I'm not keeping track of this.
I think I did.
Okay, Fry, because I'm mad at Russ for stealing Richard Dreyfuss from me.
I got two, and I can't decide. I'm gonna go with John Ritter.
Ooh, good.
Oh,
that's good. That's good.
That's a great pick. That's so good.
I couldn't really picture how exactly his voice has to be like slightly like droidized in some way. Like,
Yeah,
I feel
but
like you couldn't
but
do
I
the
want
exact same
him to-
rhythm yeah.
Yeah, no, but I want him to do it.
That's
I
so
want that
good.
voice
Oh,
in there.
man.
That's so good.
I have the only competitor,
Okay, who you got, Russ, for K2SO?
Albert Brooks. Albert Brooks.
Nice.
Ooh, that is
Yeah.
good. That is good. Mickey.
Yeah. I would say for like realism at the time, like I kind of have like the pick, because I mean, at this time period, when you're doing voice actors, you didn't have like, that was a thing. You were a voice actor, and only voice actors really at that time were doing voice acting. There wasn't this kind of crossover of a celebrity doing other
Right,
things.
Yeah.
Popping up as a voice. So if you kind of being like, if this is like a realistic thing to me, it'd have to be something like that. And the only name that kind of I can really think of at the time would have been, Mel Blanc. I know he did some sci-fi robot voices and other kind of 70s type of things. So that's kind of my realistic choice. But then like in terms of like, but who cares? You can do, get someone else in there. I think like again, there was fun. I mean, there's just so many people like the guys you mentioned that just I feel would be so great. But like I was thinking like Gene Wilder,
Ooh.
Dan Aykroyd,
Ooh.
like,
Dan
there's
Aykroyd's a
a lot
good
of
choice.
ways.
Yeah.
Aykroyd would be
Dan.
awesome.
kind of just like dry, but
Oh man,
I think
Sardonic.
it's yeah.
Ooh, Aykroyd wins for me right off there. That's
Yeah, I think if it weren't John Ritter, I think it would be Aykroyd, though I'm not sure.
yeah.
Here's one where I was thinking, so I took a little inspiration from John's list. He separated for K2SO, the body would be Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca, because I guess in his mind he's like a very
Yeah.
he's still a
Yeah, why
very
not?
large, a tall droid.
And he's hanging around the lot, so you can just pick him up.
I was thinking Richard Keel could be a body too.
Yeah, right. And for the voice was David Niven. Was his
Ooh.
nice.
choice for the voice.
Yeah, I like that.
So in that spirit, I was thinking if you have someone like either a Peter Mayhew or a Dave Prowse for the body, I wanted Ernest Borgnine for the voice.
Oh,
Nice.
okay, yeah.
And then my comedy option is for body and voice is Ben Gazzara.
Yeah.
I did have one other one, Peter Sellers for K2.
Oh,
fuck.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
of
good.
course.
That's good.
Of course, Peter Sellers. God, how come he wasn't the first? My mind is really slipping these
I
days.
feel like if you're gonna do Peter Sellers, I feel like you just try to do more of an android thing. Don't change them up. Don't make them too robotic. Just kind of
Yeah.
fingers there. Keep them looking. Maybe add some Star Trek doodads or something.
some ping pong balls and like a pasta strainer to their
Yeah.
head or something. I mean,
I want to see that.
Well, then you're
Yeah,
doing
no,
this.
that's-
That's the Spaceballs Joan Rivers kind of droid style.
Right.
Yeah.
no, and also like the poster for like Sleeper or something. is like
Yeah.
sort of what I have in my head now. What about Bail Organa? I know it's only a small cameo he has in this, but does anyone have any?
No,
thoughts on
I
that?
meant to try to think of one, but I didn't, because that would be interesting, because then you're kind of casting for, like decades down the line too.
Well, for Peter Cushing though, it's like the same thing, right? It's like so maybe the person they would have to reanimate
Yeah.
would be whoever they cast as Bail Organa.
The only thing that comes to my mind is Freddie Prinze Sr.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. Yeah.
He died. He killed himself in 1977, so it would have been right on the.
Yeah, because he made this movie.
Because
Um, sorry, that's a bet. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
or
sorry.
it could have saved him.
Or could have saved him.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Sorry, that was in poor taste and fresh off of doing a whole episode devoted to mental health, and I'm making light of it. But that's what you have to do. You
That's why
gotta
it's okay.
you gotta
That's why
make
can joke
you
about
gotta
it.
make the
Yeah.
jokes, because otherwise, what's the point? Am I right? Okay, I
Funny
don't want to go
jokes,
anywhere too
funny
dark.
jokes.
For Bail Organa, I was thinking Jose Ferrer
Yeah. All right.
or Telly Savalas, because I like the idea of that.
In a dual role.
No. Like I just like. I mean, that would be confusing. Like I had him for what? For Krennic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I retract my submission of Telly Savalas for Krennic, and I submit him exclusively for the role of Bail Organa.
No, I think
Um,
it should be him playing those two roles,
it
because
should
then
be
like people are gonna try to like read into it. It's like, what are they saying here?
Or maybe Peter Sellers. He plays K2SO and Krennic and
He
Galen
directs
and Galen Erso. Do we have any Mon Mothmas?
Oh, I have
Oh.
a Bail Organa. I have two choices. So this might be too intense, but I was thinking like a James Brolin. Would he have done it? I don't know. But James Brolin is Bail Organa. My backup or more potential might have done it. Bill Bixby, TV's Incredible
Ooh.
Hulk.
That's a sexy choice. I like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's got a look. He's got the eyes. He's got the kind of sad eyes. And I was like, throw a bit of a
Right.
mustache on Bill, and he got it going.
Requirement mustache.
Little mustache. Yeah.
John doesn't have a Bail Organa. Mon Mothma for John was just the original actress that they got for Jedi.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking maybe Shelley Winters.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I got Jenna Rollins just to
Oh,
get Jenna
okay.
Rollins in there.
No, but
I feel like she would have been too old for Jen. So
no, you're right. It's Jenna Rollins. It's Jenna Rollins. Yeah.
I'm just gonna think of an extra one right now, Julie Christie.
Oh, Julie Christie's.
Ooh.
That's a good choice. I mean,
My-
or oh god, why am I blanking on her name? The Avengers from the 60s.
Oh, Diana Rigg.
yes.
Yeah, I can see
Diana
that.
Rigg, maybe a little too action star, but I don't know. In the 70s, maybe she would do something like that. She's like a little bit
Yeah.
older, but still, I don't know. She was in this really creepy show on the BBC at the time called Sapphire and Steel.
heard of it.
Oh God, yeah. How did I not? Oh God, who's the guy in Sapphire and Steel? He should be in this fucking movie. Sorry guys, I'm
Steel.
going down.
Who's Steel? Or is he?
Yeah,
Sapphire?
right. He's Steel. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Joanna Lumley. Joanna Lumley is who I'm thinking of.
I can't picture. I know the name. I can't picture.
Well, she's my Mon Mothma.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm looking at her now. And David McCullum is
and David
Steel.
and David McCullum. He could be either.
Yeah, he's got to be in this.
Yeah, he could be either Krennic or Galen, or he could be one of our cameo Imperial officers. No, he's the guy. He's the guy in the rebel meeting who's like the coward, who's like, no, we can't. Like,
Yeah.
we can't
Oh, yeah, he'd
possibly
be great at
attack or
that.
something.
I had a
Though-
Mothma pick that I thought could go could also be Jyn Erso. Can go either way. I was thinking
Oh.
Catherine Ross from Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. She plays Etta
Oh.
Etta Place. But I was thinking she would be a great Jyn Erso. She was a backup. I totally forgot to mention.
No, that's a good pick.
I've got Ellen
Um,
Burstyn as a backup myself too.
Ellen
Ooh,
Burstyn is a good pick.
That's a great
Ellen
choice.
Bur- That is a great choice. And there's the Scorsese connection, which is a nice segue into who do you think would have directed this?
We're gonna have the same pick, I'm afraid.
No, I don't think we will. Here's the Baroque scenario that I've envisioned in my mind for the production situation of this film. Like I feel like the studio was worried about Star Wars, that it was going to be too weird and no one would understand it and it was going to flop. So to hedge, they commissioned a cheapo World War II style movie that would lead in as like a movie of the week or something, similar to how they released the comic adaptation and the novelization of Star Wars like months and months, like in 1976 even, to kind of like to drum up. So in my imagined scenario, George Lucas wasn't necessarily thrilled about this happening, right? So he's not the director, he's not in charge of it. Which I think kind of jives with the fact that he had nothing to do with the Rogue One that they actually made. I don't think that this is necessarily a movie he would have made. So for directors, at one point he did envision Star Wars as like a James Bond like sort of anthology franchise where like he would start it off, he would sort of set the world in motion, and then it would just be like a sandbox where all of his friends would come in and make like their Star Wars movie, right? So you could see it as like him throwing a bone to one of his friends. Like I was also imagining, very famously, Brian De Palma like really thought George was torpedoing his career with this movie and he really didn't understand at all what it was. So I was like, so maybe De Palma would try to help him out and sort of direct like his version of what he thought Star Wars should be to kind of to tee up his buddy's movie so it's not a flop and he doesn't fall flat on his face. But I don't know about that. But anyway, Mickey, who's your director for Rogue One in the 70s?
So I got like a couple like different thoughts. Like again, because like this is really, like picking actors. This is again more the play, like where you're saying like what's the scenario here and everything, what's going on. And I guess I already kind of said it where like I can envision, to me, I envision, it's going out for like, a for hire thing. First of all, the writers are Schrader and John Millis write this together somehow without killing each other. And the script goes to Peckinpah and he has to be fired after, X days in the desert or something, something like that, disappears. And then I guess my pick, like the easy pick, which would be the easy pick the studio would go with, because he's the guy who's helmed these before. This is the guy who's got that experience, doing this type of thing, would be Robert Aldrich, who's,
No, dude, that's my pick.
I think go-to guy for the men on a movie. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah,
then it's right.
So yeah, that's my pick is Robert Aldrich. Yeah.
It's the correct pick. So, and I'd say the other interesting thing, like to think about too, would be, just because I didn't realize this doing research, is that Irvin Kershner, director of Empire Strikes Back, did a Men on a Mission, but he actually did it later. He did one in the 80s about like the Israeli hostage rescue, with a movie that Yaphet Kotto was actually in. So that's possible, like get him involved with Star Wars a little earlier by handling a Man with a Mission movie.
Well, he actually made that before Star Wars. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was in the 80s because it's one of the reasons that he got the job for Empire was because he demonstrated he could direct action. So it also makes sense that, if this is something that is sort of being forced upon George, or if not forced upon, it's something that he can't direct himself because he has his hands full with Star Wars, that he would do something similar to what he would do after Star Wars for the sequel. He would go to someone that he knew and trusted. So Irvin Kershner, I mean, he's an interesting pick. He could have done this.
Yeah. 76, right on at the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be right then. Yeah.
Fry, who's your director?
I'm going to go with Roger Donaldson, who went on to direct Cocktail and Species. But then in 1977, he directed a movie called Sleeping Dogs with Sam Neill and actually Warren Oates. It was like, it's like about like a revolution against against fascist government in New Zealand. So I'm just, I guess, like I'm imagining him being offered this and then deciding to let go of that movie and direct this movie.
That's actually a really good choice. Russ, who's your director? And I left you for last because I think I know who it is.
Oh, yeah, you do. Because Warren Oates got mentioned, and specifically in the Dillinger movie, and then just being in the circle of friends, I honestly was just thinking John Milius would have directed it, because maybe they needed someone to come in and do it on the cheap. and kind of get it done, and someone who can bring kind of a militaristic viewpoint for some realism. So yeah, John Milius would be my choice of the time, and just kind of fits in that Lucas Coppola gang. It's all kind of
Yeah.
best buds making movies together.
Makes
Yeah, I
sense.
feel like if you're gonna have a director direct the character Saw, like that's the director who's gonna really capture that character for
Yeah,
perfectly.
yeah.
Like he's interesting as it's kind of like the conservative of the group, but yet I think he has the revolutionary mindset down better than
does.
anyone at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he absolutely does. I was going to say Robert Aldrich, but now that you brought up Milius, I guess it all depends like how involved the studio was. So I think, like you were saying, Mickey, Robert Aldrich, he was a safe pair of hands. For those who don't know, Robert Aldrich, he directed The Dirty Dozen and The Longest Yard, but he did a bunch of film noirs. He did a lot of westerns, including Veracruz from 1953, which is like the progenitor of the entire spaghetti western genre. I mean, and it at least certainly directly inspired Sergio Leone, who listed a lot of like very specific things that Robert Aldrich did in Veracruz. And he's compared often to, or like spoken of as like the direct antecedent to Sam Peckinpah, except that Aldrich, he knew how to work the studios and was considered like a safe pair of hands, where Sam Peckinpah was absolutely in no way considered a safe pair of hands. But so Robert Aldrich, especially with The Dirty Dozen on his filmography, which I feel like was a touchstone for Rogue One, and the fact that like he would do something like this and he would do like a yeoman's job, and I think he would have made a really fucking fantastic film. So yeah, for me, I think it's either Milius or Robert Aldrich. But Roger Donaldson is, again, Fry, someone never would have occurred to me, but that's a very intriguing choice and very well could have.
I just thought of it right now because I forgot to think of a director.
My first one actually was William Friedkin.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Getting your freaking on.
Yeah, you get your Friedkin on because I was thinking of Roy Scheider for a bunch of parts, and then I was thinking Friedkin because, very famously, Friedkin was really pissed off that he made Sorcerer like the week before Star Wars came out, and like no one saw his movie.
Sorcerer's
and
so
like,
good. Oh
Yeah.
No, it's so good, and it's also come full circle because wasn't there an episode of The Mandalorian that was like essentially Sorcerer?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, so good.
Yeah, the wages
Well,
of fear. So it's a
Yes,
sorcerer
right.
with sorcerer's wages.
Yes,
of
right.
fear.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was wrong. The Where Eagles Dare is directed by the guy who directed Kelly's Heroes.
Mm.
Which is why I think I got my wires crossed on that, which is another great Men on a Mission movie.
Did John pick a director?
He said either Ridley Scott or Richard Donner. Ridley
Ooh.
Scott, I think, may have done it because at this time, I think he was still transitioning from commercials to features. And I think, it depends. Like, I don't know if this is also a British production or not. I mean, if it is, certainly that ups the odds for that. But, once again, and this is not gospel or anything, but like in my thought experiment, where the whole impetus for this project is because the studio wants it, like they would probably want the production to be stateside so they could sort of keep an eye on it and also do it cheaply, which is actually the reason why they went to England was because of the favorable conversion rate. So I don't know. And it doesn't ultimately matter because this never happened. So
Or did it?
in some universe, I think this would be a really fantastic Rogue One.
I always prefer our versions of the films. I just, we're right. We have good ideas.
Yeah.
Do we want to do down the cast list, just sort of lightning round and just say the name that you like the most?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Jyn. Fry, who's your favorite Jyn?
I'll go with Jenny Agutter because since there was two of us that.
I second that.
I go with Pam Grier. That was my favorite. I heard.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that I would also go that way. I think that could be
Yeah.
fun.
I'm also going Pam Grier. Okay, what about Cassian Andor?
I'll stick with my Kazale.
Okay, John Cazale, I respect that. Mickey?
Yeah, he's got to be in there somewhere, and I feel like that's a good spot for so I'm going John Cassell too.
Oh, wow, okay. Fry?
I'll go with Martin Sheen.
Ooh.
I'm also going with Martin Sheen.
You know what? I would actually in this
Yeah,
instance
that's my vote.
I would go Sheen. I say clean sweep on the Sheen. I totally forgot already, but yeah, especially the little girl
Yeah.
who's down the
Sheen.
lane Sheen. And like what is that post Badlands Sheen? Yeah.
Okay, what about Krennic?
I like my pick.
This-
Sorry, I'm gonna stick with Cassavetes.
I would like to see Cassavetes do it. I had said Martin Landau, but honestly, I'd rather save that look style for Nimoy, and I'd rather go Cassavetes for Krennic
That
because
looks-
he's got that charming sparkle in his eye. It's like, yeah, he's devious, especially all those Columbo episodes. He's just got that duality. I love it.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, I love him in a Columbo. Yeah.
Fry.
Man, I do like Landau.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Landau.
I'm torn. I'm torn.
No, I'm really torn. I don't know who to go with for this one. There's so many good options. I think I'm gonna go with, I guess, Cassavetes. I guess I'm going with Cassavetes. I want the bad Cassavetes because the one that I
Yeah.
really liked Cassavetes for was Galen Erso, but I think we have a lot of good ones for Galen Erso. So I want to see Cassavetes as like the bad one. And like he's got the range. He could do all of that like the menacing and then like the pathetic. It's like, I mean that's the guy. So Galen Erso, Jyn's father.
What were some of the picks?
McGowan and Nimoy, but I really like Nimoy for it. Patrick McGowan would be great. Put him in anything, but I feel like for whatever reason, Nimoy really is an interesting choice, especially if you're going Cassavetes for Krennic. Then I would go Nimoy.
That's fascinating. I like it.
I think I'm gonna do Nimoy too.
Yes.
Nimoy's
Uh,
good, but I'm going with Patrick McGowan.
Look, you win either way. You win either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I go with McGowan. I think I go with McGowan on this one. This is tough.
I'm gonna watch.
This
I'm
is
gonna watch
really fucking-
Scanners later. Just get some McGowan fix.
Get all McGooey.
Cheer it and Bays. I'm all over the Charles Bronson, Richard Roundtree combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
think-
Yep.
I trust Johnny's choice, but that one's good too.
though I really thought that there was a place for David Carradine in this movie, and I'm sad that
He was my backup.
Uh,
Yeah.
Throw him in an X-wing.
no, I think I'm going with David Carradine and Bronson.
I can see that.
That's also good.
Put an extra
Um,
character in the movie. Who cares? We're making it up as we go. Just
Yeah.
throw,
Yeah,
throw
that's
them all
a-
in there.
that's a
The three
trio.
of them. Yeah.
Ernest Borgnine's just in there as Ernest Borgnine somehow.
Sitting in the back of the ship, peeling potatoes. or something.
He's on vacation.
Who sticks out for Saw Guerra? Russ.
I still kind of want a Brando, but like in hypothetical. But
Why? We can't do Brando?
no, he could. I mean, would he take it? I don't know. But it's our fantasy, so he did. He takes the role.
Yeah.
He nails it.
I think it's Yaphet Kotto for me.
Yeah. I'm sticking with that.
Yeah,
like
I'll
that
do
too.
Yaphet. Yeah.
Hey, I'll be a joiner. Sure,
When it's Yaphet, I'll always be a joiner.
always.
And who's your Bodhi?
John Cazale for me. Except I do want Brad Dourif to be in there somewhere. So I like that coward that you mentioned before. I think he's a senator. His name is Vas Vesper, and he's played by an actor named Fairs, and like so they made his name redundant based off his name. So I think that character's name is going to be Dad Borif. It's going to be played by Brad Dourif. Dad Borif, played by Brad Dourif.
Okay, well, that's got to be it. Then I think. Though I do like Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
K2SO for me is Peter Sellers. I think it's got to be Peter Sellers.
I still like the John Ritter and who is the other?
Dan Aykroyd.
Aykroyd.
Aykroyd is a real because like the voice. Yeah.
It's got to be whoever, because that is a funny joke. The like, did you think that was me or whatever? I forgot it. Like when she shoots the other droid.
Right.
Like, it's a legitimately funny joke. So it's got to be whoever does that the best.
That's a John Ritter right there. Honestly.
Yeah.
That's
So,
his
and you know what?
face.
I also think it's not an Aykroyd moment. I don't think.
Yeah. I
For
guess
some
not.
reason.
I'm going John Ritter. I think it's a perfect.
It's-
I think it's
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's
everything I need, the
Aykroyd, it's
physical,
gross
the
point blank
voice.
Aykroyd.
There were some interesting ones for Mon Mothma.
There was at least one.
I
or two.
had Rollins, Jenna Rollins.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
No, I think Jenna Rollins is my pick.
Yeah, that's a winner right there.
Yeah. For sure.
And director, who do we like for director? I'm still thinking Robert Aldrich. For me, it's either Robert Aldrich
Yeah,
or
I
John
think
Milius.
just for being factual to the time, I'm going with Aldrich.
And if he doesn't decide to do it, or the studio wouldn't allow Milius, I'd say yeah.
Milius is also accurate to the times.
He's script doctoring it for sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, I buy that.
It will be like Jaws, where he literally just writes the Saw scenes, the Saw scenes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, right. So imagine that this is a movie that's most known for like a monologue or like a phrase or like a turn of phrase. Like I love the smell of napalm in the morning, or like, the USS Indianapolis speech. Like imagine if this was a Star Wars movie known for its dialogue.
Right.
I mean, like just imagine that for a moment.
That would be crazy, because if it is like the cheap television kind of companion piece, it's like kind
You
of
would
like
need it.
Yeah,
Like you would need to rely more on the dialogue.
but it's like beloved now because of just like that. It's like the one thing that like a lot of other Star Wars movies don't really have. I mean, they have like famous
Yeah.
lines, but
No, yeah, they have famous lines, but like not necessarily for the best reasons. Like there are prequel memes, there are lines from those movies that everyone knows off the top of their head, but like the reason why, it's not because it's John Milius, I love the smell of napalm in the morning stuff. It's I like this. I like written by Milius, directed by Robert Aldrich.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. I think that about wraps it up. I had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah.
I also just want to say, just randomly, because if you're watching any of those movies from those time periods, Jeff Goldblum just randomly in a X-wing somewhere, and you're just like, is that Jeff Goldblum?
I had him for
Totally gets blown up. Totally gets blown up.
Yeah.
And yelps.
I had him as a secondary for Saw. I had him, but like if you just kind of like 70s Jeff Goldblum, but like kind of aged up, like they give him like gray in his hair and like, and it's like bigger than usual. His hair is like huge.
Got a pompadour.
Because that kind of happens for Jeff Goldblum, like for this period, Jeff Goldblum, where like he pops up in movies and you're like,
Nashville.
oh, yeah,
Nashville,
like Nashville or like
Invasion of the Body
Invasion,
Snatchers.
right? Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and you're like, oh, I guess Goldblum's been around for for longer than I thought.
How old is he?
It's like 97.
He's 17. Yeah, well, I really enjoyed this. I think I enjoyed this more than the prequels 1986 episode we did for some reason. Like, I think it's just because I have more of an affinity for certain reasons for this time period, maybe is the reason. I don't know. How do you
Yeah.
guys feel this compares to the prequels show?
I think it's
we
at
did?
least as good.
Mustaches and sideburns can't be beat.
Yeah.
Required.
I mean, these are my people. These actors we're talking about. That's like, yeah.
It's got to be dirty. It's got to be dirty. It's got to be quick. It's got to be just
Yeah.
grimy.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if they shot it on like,
Super 16.
yeah, I mean, if this is like a TV movie, they may very well have shot it on Super 16, though. Like in my mind, it's like framed 4:3. It's like the Academy aspect ratio or whatever. I mean, it's not widescreen, or maybe it is. I don't know. I have no idea because this isn't real, so I don't know. Well, unless anyone has anything further, if you like what you heard, transcripts are available of all the episodes, including this one, at trashcompod.com. We are TrashCompod across all social media, and we will see you on the next one.